What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and after the news yesterday of, or earlier today, I'm sorry, of the surprise cleansing of even more Twitter employees, it looks like Elon Musk has told the remaining Twitter employees that not only is he done laying people off, but he is also hiring again and asking the existing employees for referrals, among other things that essentially leaked from an emergency another all hands on deck meeting. I suspect the person that recorded this call and leaked it will be also fired. I don't think Elon cares for the type of employees that leak company secrets, company data, and I'm sure that they'll find this. Now, leaks are, I report on them, so they're an important part of the world. But interestingly enough, it also looks like Elon may have already put Twitter on a path to profitability in just 2 weeks, which is actually mind-blowing. And we're going to get into that after a quick word from this video's sponsor. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Kamikoto. That's right, Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan. Over 800 years of Japanese technology and expertise have gone into creating the steel that this knife has been meticulously handcrafted from, using techniques that date all the way back to the Edo period of Japan. Kamikoto only uses steel sourced from mills in Japan. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty wood box. It makes sure that the knife is stored safely. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee. These are knives that I personally own and use. I got a set through this promotion. Over Christmas, I used it to cut a beautiful brisket that I had made for the holidays, and cut ham and turkey and all sorts of things. Not only did it work flawlessly, but it was a talking point at the table. The knives felt like the perfect weight. They were perfectly balanced. And on top of all of this, just for you, my subscribers, you guys can get an additional $50 off any purchase you make with discount code TheQuartering. So click the link below and go to kamikoto.com/thequartering and use promo code TheQuartering to save an extra $50 today. Now, here is the article, at least discussing the leaks. After purging nearly 2/3 of Twitter's 7,500 person workforce in 3 weeks, Elon Musk is hiring again. During an all hands meeting with Twitter employees today, Twitter said that the company is done with layoffs and actively recruiting for roles in engineering and sales, that employees are encouraged to make referrals, according to The Verge. His comments are, according to 2 people who attended and a partial recording obtained by The Verge. His comments were made during the same day an unspecified wave of cuts hit Twitter's sales department, which I covered earlier today, which has lost almost all of its senior leadership since Musk took over. Musk did not specify the kinds of engineering or sales roles Twitter was hiring for, but the company doesn't currently have any open roles on their website. Now, of course, we talked a little bit about the all hands on meeting, and we're going to bounce back to this, but I wanted to talk about a thread about the profitability and the result of the layoffs. This from Charles Haywood, a person on Twitter, apparently, who broke down some of the financials. I will now examine Twitter's past financials and predict the future. Sorry, I'll go to this. I will now predict Twitter's past financials and predict the future from them. I conclude that criticism of Elon Musk is bizarrely off base, because Musk has overnight changed Twitter's net profit margin from a negative 20% to approximately plus 28%, more than Apple or Google. 2, I am using annualized percentages based on Twitter's most recent quarterly filings for the period ending 6/30/2022. These documents are freely available on the SEC's website. 3, annual revenue was about $4.4 billion. Annual expenses were slightly more and fell into 4 major buckets: cost of revenue, R&D, sales and marketing, and general administrative. Now you know why he cut so many salespeople. Those are roughly 37, 26, 25, and 12% of total major expenses, respectively. According to the company, cash expenses for cost of revenue are essentially infrastructure, hardware, and third-party servers, with some employee costs, namely an ops team. Employee costs include those related to stock option grants. 5, R&D expenses, on the other hand, consist primarily of personnel-related costs. The same is explicitly true of sales and marketing and of general/administrative. In other words, the vast majority of 63% of Twitter's expenses are personnel costs. If we assume primarily is 80% and that 20% of the cost is revenue, is also personnel costs, 58% of Twitter's total costs are personnel. When Musk took over, he had 7,500 employees. Let's guess 70% of those have left. Leaving aside the pay differential, that suggests that Twitter's expenses have permanently dropped 41% overnight. That makes its new annualized projected net profit $1.3 billion. This means Twitter's net margin going forward is now about 28%. By the way of comparison, Apple and Google both maintain net margins of 22 to 25%. In other words, Twitter is now more profitable than those two companies. Your mileage may vary, and this is somewhat of an oversimplification, but it shows that Musk can win just by firing worthless losers. Yeah, sure, maybe leftist pressure will keep some advertisers away. I doubt it. When the next current thing arrives, they'll be back. But when you change from a negative profit margin to a margin that's the envy of the tech world, you've got some room to screw up. Also note that it's ignorant to say that Musk has loaded up the company with debt. Debt equity ratio in the deal was roughly 0.3 to 1, when many deals are 1 to 3, or 9 times as much debt. Sure, he has to make debt payments, but this isn't some kind of knife-edge scenario as the ignorant often paint it. Now, here you have Sawyer Merritt. Does this account for a drop in advertiser revenue since he's taken over? Well, we already know, according to Hank Green's tweet thread and things of that nature, that advertisers aren't really going anywhere. Why would they? You have 250 million daily active users. You absolutely have to keep them. You have to sell a product. Where are you going to go? Are you going to just on principle not sell as many products? I mean, of course not. There may be some companies, for example, that do that, but not enough. And also take into account the companies. I mean, what this doesn't take into account is a number of companies that will be returning to advertising on Twitter. For example, Coffee Brand Coffee. I know we're not spending millions on advertising, but next year we'll probably spend 100,000. And if you had, if you hear my dogs fighting, it's bring your dogs to work day. I've got contractors in the house all day, and now they're playing / fighting. Anyway, Ruby. This on top of, Twitter added 1.6 million daily active users this past week. That's 1.6 million new users in a week. That's 6 million new users a month. Daily active, by the way. He's not saying new, he's saying daily actives. He also said this will improve a lot as Twitter becomes fast to use outside of North America, Western Europe, and Japan. I mean, it's actually insane how quickly this. Now, one thing to point out though is Elon is paying a severance for a lot of this dead weight until February. So he hasn't really changed the immediate outlook in any way, shape, or form of the company. You see Unusual Whales writing, breaking, Elon Musk has reportedly said that Twitter is actively recruiting for roles in engineering and sales again, and that employees are encouraged to make referrals after firing nearly 75% of its workforce this month, per The Verge. Since Elon Musk's $44 billion acquisition of Twitter, the number of workers has dropped from 7,500 to 2,700 people. I mean, I think that's fair. And, a lot of this stuff in the all hands meeting is really interesting. He wrote, they say, quote, "This is not a right-wing takeover of Twitter. It's a moderate-wing takeover of Twitter." Quote, "If we want to move the headquarters to Texas, I think it would play into the idea that Twitter has gone from being left-wing to right-wing, which is not the case," he told employees. "This is not a right-wing takeover of Twitter. It's a moderate-wing takeover of Twitter." Musk went on to say, quote, "To be the digital town square, we must represent people with a wide array of views, even if we disagree with those views." He didn't address the firings of dozens of employees for posting tweets and Slack messages criticizing him. Fair. He acknowledged that his ongoing reorganization of the company will have a lot of mistakes, but stabilize over time. In response to one employee question, he said, quote, significant portions of the technology stack need to be rebuilt from scratch. And at another point in the meeting, he suggested it would be a good idea to somewhat decentralize things by setting up engineering teams in Japan, India, Indonesia, and Brazil. Twitter's historically strong usage in Japan, was specifically called out by Musk as what the company should aspire to ideally be in every country without exception. It may seem as though Twitter in the US is US-centric, but if anything, it's Japan-centric, he said. There are roughly the same number of daily active users in Japan as there are in the United States, despite the fact that Japan has 1/3 the population of the United States. In response to a question about employee compensation, Musk reiterated that employees will be given stock options in Twitter and be able to cash them out regularly, like at SpaceX, his other company that is also privately held. The way things work at SpaceX is to get liquidity is that every 6 months there's a liquidity event where the company buys back shares. We also invite new investors to buy shares, he said, and we'll be able to operate Twitter in the very same way. Anyone entering Twitter now will work as in a much smaller company than it was before. While the exact number of departures under his watch is unclear, there were nearly 7,500 people with access before. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how this all shakes up. You know, I would think that if he's profitable by Q1 of next year, which is what it actually looks like. I mean, you see like this article from Insider, which is hilarious. Elon Musk's hardcore work ultimatum was deliberate plan to push out Twitter employees that he was warned against, after he was warned against cutting more than 50% of the staff. Well, doy, like the only person that didn't know this is a journalist. Like, are you joking? Everybody knew that if you want to be here, you're going to have to put your D in the dirt, or your V in the dirt, and work harder than ever for basically the same pay. That is a soft layoff, essentially. I mean, you have that type of situation, and that's exactly what he wanted. So I don't think anybody is surprised by that whatsoever. But make sure, if you haven't yet, wherever you're watching this video, that you subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. I greatly, greatly appreciate your support. And we'll have probably 5 more videos today, so keep checking back, and we'll talk to you again real soon.